you confident in the objectivity of your teacher evaluation?
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. And as always, the thoughts and opinions expressed within this episode are those of your hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
Now, Mark Zockoll. Today, we're talking about the objectivity of an evaluation tool for your teacher. Now, maybe that's where you're starting from and saying, oh, we have one. Let's see what they have to say about it. Maybe you're starting saying, we don't have one. We should think about this. Wherever you are, we're going to talk to you today. So make sure you listen in, listen up, and listen good, because I don't want to say it, but July is almost over, and I don't like that.
Yeah. No, there's no time left.
Don't say that. Don't say that. But seriously, there's very little time left. In fact, when this comes out on July the 27th, we will be but a shy 2 days of my birthday. And on that birthday, on that blessed day, July 29th, there is the understanding long held in my mind that at this point, what was the previous year had better be well done and gone, and all eyes, all hands are looking to the year which is forthcoming, because the year which is gone is now gone, and the year which is forthcoming, well, it's
here.
It's there. And what's even crazier is I have the opportunity to meet with and to be in the professional development of at least one up school in August, partly because of the work here on the podcast. And I'll be meeting with a faculty team whose professional development week, get this, Matt, August the 3rd through the 5th.
Ooh.
August the 3rd through the 5th. I feel for them. I'm sure their breaks are long and plenteous during the school year because they're still getting out, late May, early June. But going back to school that early is not something I revel in.
That is nasty.
Not my favorite. Not my favorite. Now, usually we would take a point here to break and to hear from the Herzog Foundation and GradeLink Student Information Systems. I'd like to do that, but as opposed to going to a reading about the Herzog Foundation, Matt, is it okay with you if I kind of just roll through some of the development events they have coming up soon?
You know what? Go for it.
Awesome. I was going to do this no matter what you said. So, But just so you know, again, the Herzog Foundation, they say you get yourself here, we will pay for everything once you get here. The content, the hotel, the food, it's wonderful, high-class stuff they have. But in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, August 24th to 27th, donor development. These are part of the Leadership Development Series, Spiritual Formation, Nashville, Tennessee, August 31st through September 2nd. Leadership Development Series, Culture Building and Employee Engagement, September 2026 in Nashville. Back to Nashville for Special Education, that's organizational development. Another organizational development is Academics and Student Success, that's September 21st to 23rd. I'm just going to keep reading the titles of some of these. Strategic Stewardship, another donor development. Leadership in Christian Education, that's out in Lone Tree, Colorado, by the way. Strategic Planning Intensive. Board leadership, not like I'm bored of you, but the leadership that your board would face. Development Leadership Intensive. Cultivating Top Talent, that's a new one. Marketing and Enrollment, the list keeps going. Matt, if you haven't been to the Herzog Foundation, you're going to hear us say over and over that you should see what they have available and make sure you partner with them in their mission of seeing Christian education flourish for the cause of Christ in the United States of America, which, of course, so closely aligns with our own. What do you think, Matt?
Just giving you a round of applause.
I appreciate
the Herzog Foundation is a treasure. Make sure you are taking advantage of said treasure.
Yeah, you don't have to dig it up. The treasure's right there. X marks the spot. Go grab it. Go get yourself involved with it. Get your people involved with it. Make sure you are stronger because of what they are offering. Let's go ahead and hear now from our partner, GradeLink Student Information Systems.
Managing all those different fees, whether it's tuition, lunch, registration, or tech fees, can be a headache. GradeLink makes it simple to collect and manage all those payments in one place. You can keep everything organized and make life easier for your school and parents alike. Head over to cpp.gradelink.com to learn how GradeLink can streamline fee collections for you.
All right. Well, we hate to bring it up, but the time is coming where we've got to be checking in on our faculty, on our teachers, and seeing how they're doing. And so we're talking today about your system. What are you doing? What kind of review do you have for not only making your teachers be accountable for the jobs that they've been hired for, but also offering them that valuable professional encouragement, the push to develop, to highlight their strengths, to be able to shout their praises from the rooftops. What are you doing to review, to find these things?
And what are you doing to make sure you've written it down in such a way that should push come to shove and it's time to have to let somebody go, you have the documentation behind you and behind the decision you are making? Well, Mr. A. Scott Blackman on the Christian School Administrator Think Tank asked this question on June the 15th. It's a long one, so get ready. He said, I'm looking for a system that provides clear goals, feedback, expectations, and accountability. We have a lot of expectations for our teachers, but we need to create a culture where there is consistency and constant communication. ChatGPT recommends creating a teacher expectation scorecard and tracking it monthly or quarterly. And basically what he does here is he lists out all the parts of what he would assume to be on the Meadowbrook, which is the school he's at, teacher expectations dashboard, and there's a translate into the report card. We're going to go through these in a moment, so I won't read them now. But he talks about the ways in which teachers would make their submissions. Teachers submit a brief reflection and photos, track number completed and student participation certification. The spreadsheet shows current certification status, credits completed this year, percentage towards their national CEU compliance, evaluation. And then he goes on to say, for Meadowbrook, I would consider instruction classroom performance of 50%, spiritual leadership 20%, professional responsibility 20%, school culture 10%, or school culture participation 10%. This keeps the primary focus on teaching while still holding teachers accountable for additional expectations unique to Christian education. Then he says you could then create a scorecard where every teacher receives a score out of 100 and is recognized as 90 to 100% or 90 to 100 score lion leader, 80 to 89 effective contributor, 70 to 79 developing, and below 70 improvement plan. This creates an objective measurement without making the evaluation feel subjective or arbitrary. A few questions. Does this look doable? What expectations should be on the list or not on the list? Implemented by whom? How often? Thumbs up, thumbs down. What can be approved? So then we have a couple of responses, but I got to say this in general is quite a significant effort to undertake. And so I'm going to review. And so I'm not surprised that there aren't many administrators reaching back in response to him. So I thought maybe we should, right? Maybe we should do that.
I mean, that's what we typically do. Yeah, let's give them our 2 cents.
Let's give our 2 cents. So what I did is I grabbed all that information, I threw it into ChatGPT, and as he expressed that it would, it spit out a Meadowbrook teacher expectations scorecard. Now, this scorecard is going to look somewhat like you could expect it to. There's general demographic information at the top. That would be teacher, evaluator, grade, subject, quarterly, or the review date. The rating scale, which we see as 4 exceeds expectations, 3 meets expectations, 2 needs improvement, 1 unsatisfactory, NA not applicable. And then there's the domain. If you think of a rubric, we got the domains on the left-hand side announcing what that row will be covering. The expectation or the indicator is the description of that domain. There's a weight as you follow left to right. There's a weight on that row. There's a rating that gets filled in as the next column on that row. And then last in the column on the right would be notes or evidences of that domain as described by the expectation indicator and seen by the reviewer or the evaluator. And at the bottom of the page, there's totals, the weighting that was previously described, the performance band seen here, the 90 to 100, 70 to 80, 80 to 89, and then 70 to 79, of course, below 70, as well as the coaching and improvement plan, which would be at the bottom, a little table offering thoughts on, next steps. But Matt, for you and I think I want to review, first of all, when you see this report card, are you impressed with it? Are you scared by it? Are you, moved to think you need that? What are your thoughts in general about this question of, do we need this much and this level of objectivity in our review and evaluation of these teachers?
Yeah. So one of the classes I just took dealt with reporting on evaluating your teacher performance. So, this is nothing surprising. Nothing that is jumping out to me as like, why are they looking at that? Why do they care about that? This is reasonable, I guess I should say, right off the bat. I don't think it's asking too much, but the thing that anytime I look at this, which our school has something that looks very similar to this. In fact, I'm looking at it and I say, oh, there is a little nuance to this that perhaps could make ours a little bit stronger. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. These kind of scorecards are helpful to get a conversation going, but I would be very wary of staking all of your, like, this is the teacher's rating, and we're going to, on the school website, we're going to have what their rating is right next to their name to see what quality of a teacher they are. And like, this is going to determine the way that they are kind of elevated. Maybe, you base salary raises on this. I don't know what else. I'm kind of going extreme, but I'm always going to be a little wary of putting too much on something like this, because I'm assuming, because I don't see on this paper, I mean, it's a quarterly review, so you're going to get 4 of these filled out throughout the year, and you can average them and whatever else to come up with the final one. But when I'm sitting down with my teacher, I want to say, hey, here's what I saw. Was today a good day? Was today a bad day? I'm only basing this off of what I saw today. And it could, it could have definitely been strongly one way or the other. And that's not fair to a teacher. So I would already just be using this as a starting point. I would not look at this when I fill it out that it's the end all catch all.
It's hard for me to get past the phrasing you used in that description, which I know I've used before, but you said very wary. It's very wary. And all I could think of is very wary. I'm very wary right now. I'm afoot. But, past the elementary and more to what you were talking about. Yeah, if I was just answering this off the cuff for him, I would first ask, how much time do you have in your day?
Yeah.
Because if you have 20 faculty members, let's just say you got 20, and you might have 5 and you might have 40. I whoever's listening, you got the number you got. But if you got 20 and you are one of the evaluators responsible for seeing the number that you're seeing, or let's just make a good ratio. Every evaluator in the school, be it a lead teacher or a principal or yourself as the head of school administrator, whatever it happens to be, you have no more than 20. I look at that 20, I say, is it really feasible?
Feasible, yeah.
To do this report card. I mean,
many
that's
times.
That many times in a month. I mean, it's quarterly. Now, I originally thought it was monthly, making it quarterly. Okay, maybe quarterly. So I do have just the ratio of evaluator to evaluated ones. Evaluees? Evaluatees. Whatever it is. The ones being evaluated. Like, I wonder as to how possible it is to be as consistent as this would demand over the course of a busy year. So that's a first question, and maybe there is time for that. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm not being kind enough to the ability of our persons to work through this. I think another thought to bring to bear here originally for Mr. Blackman would have to be, okay, what happens with your veteran teacher that you introduce this to next semester? I understand the value of this for a developing teacher, but is there a teacher that would have graduated from the need for this?
Yeah.
I want to think that there would be a level of teacher that, not that they can't grow, but in some very real way, they've reached the level they're going to be at. And it's probably a positive one. I'm not saying that's a negative thing.
Yeah.
I think this is great for the development. I think this is great for someone who needs a development plan. That makes sense. For this one, though, at some level, if it becomes objective, this objective where I put an actual, a 96 versus a 99, I'm going to have to
Right.
be extremely careful, because these teachers are going to discuss this number amongst themselves. What's the difference between Dr. Zockoll's 96 and Dr. Juris's 97? Is there enough of a difference? Which one makes it into the file? This seems to have to be one person, because if it's not one person, then maybe it's different evaluators come together. Well, okay, how much evaluation is going to be done? How many classroom visits? I just look at this and I say, I'm not sure the reality of this report card being able to do a quarterly job, if what this means is one administrator is going to be in that space, we'll just say quarterly, and is then meeting with that teacher quarterly. Like, even meeting with a teacher becomes a difficulty in this, and you extrapolate that over the numbers.
Yep.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to your point too of the whole veterans, the going back to the rating system of, you rate Dr. Zockoll at 96 and you rate first year Mandy at 97. Like, okay.
Exactly.
Why don't they have their doctorate degree? But, and the other thing too, you're going to get to a point, I believe, even after just doing this one time. Let's just say you just do this one time a year, where you're going to go to get to evaluate that teacher the second time. And as you said, you're going to know them well enough that maybe half of these, if not more of these boxes, you're pre-filling in because you already know. And there's the area of concern, perhaps. So why not just focus on that? Why everything else? Now, I can see it to where maybe you don't have anything and you want a starting point. I think it's a good starting point. I think it's a great grid for somebody who doesn't know. And it's just, I want to make sure I'm checking everything and thinking through everything. It's a great thing to have, but to put, as you're saying, a mandate on you to be going and evaluating every teacher as many times as you need to. And you're dealing with teachers on different levels, teachers doing different things. And it's going to become overly, at some point, you're just going to end up, I think, just highlighting, here's what you're doing really well. And I want to praise you and thank you and want to encourage you, keep doing it. And, maybe here's something that maybe is an area of concern, or, we could grow together. But I even on that end would prefer getting the growing point to be coming from the teacher. Like, here is where I'm struggling and I want to know this. I don't want it to depend on me seeing it. I want them to be able to be at a level of comfort and trust in my leadership and in helping them, for them to be able to say, hey, in this area, maybe they're doing a self-evaluation, I really struggle and I need some help.
That's a great point. There needs to be speaking back into this rubric from themselves. I would agree with you that the rubric itself is not strong enough that there isn't a point for them to evaluate themselves. And perhaps, to your point, what you need is that self-evaluation rubric, which it's nice to let them rank themselves. And I will say, when I saw, I really liked how he described qualitatively those range scores from 91 to 100, basically the ABCDF scores, he gave a name to. Because when I think through this and I say there were absolute teachers in my past who I would have ranked as in need of development because of their lack of that 10%, that they're strong teachers, but their participation in school culture and school events is lacking. And that is what the difference is between them and teacher X, because teacher X is willing to do that. And I'd rather have someone who buys into the school culture and that needs development elsewhere than someone who is more developed, but does not buy into the school culture. Whatever the domain be that we prefer the most or we think best represents our culture. So I do want to celebrate that part of it. And I think also the understanding that if we don't have one of these scorecards in our toolbox to use for our own purposes, the teachers would never see this. And I also see that as a possibility here, that this is completely for us, completely for their, not even necessarily their file, but our file, so that we can say, if we don't have another way of evaluating them by the end of the year, we are able to look down at this and say, okay, I'm going to give you a grade based on this for the year, and I'm only going to do it once. And for most of these teachers, they're never going to see the grade I give them. But if we do run into an issue, I want to be able to say that I offered some thoughts, or I had the principals offer some thoughts on the way they operated last year, the extent to which they were successful last year or not successful. Oh, okay, I'm getting more and more behind this rubric in its full extent, if that is what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. As soon as you get to that point of this teacher needs help or needs to be pushed in some way, the need for documentation just explodes. I mean, it's good to have documentation when you're praising them or you're saying, yeah, I evaluated them. But when you get to that point of, man, I've got to tell this teacher, they've got to knuckle down, they got to get to this, or else we're going to have to start looking somewhere else. You don't want to get to the point of needing to part ways and you have no history of reviewing, having them review, working with them. So make sure it's documented. And that's where, again, I find the strength here of, I need to evaluate all our teachers. Here's just what I use to go down. Maybe it's not even, you're observing them. And I'm saying a lot. I really don't like these if it is simply I'm popping into the classroom, sitting down and scoring you, and then I'm walking away and that's all it is. I would much rather say, I know this is the thing I'm going to fill out for each teacher at the end of the quarter or at the end of the semester, or whatever it is, end of the year. And so I am going to, every time I pop in, take note and allow several quick pop-ins to inform me, as well as sit downs with the teachers, as well as conversations I have with other teachers and admin about that teacher. I'm going to allow all of that data to inform me in filling that out, as opposed to just to sit down and fill it out one time.
Yeah, man, if we're ever just sitting down and filling something out one time, we're probably in a bad situation. But again, I think about the time this is going to take to do that. And how many times did it come to the end of a quarter, semester, year, and we were saying, man, I did not get into so-and-so's classroom the amount of times I really wish I would have. So there's a positive here that this would, in a sense, make you do that. But if you tie yourself too closely to a system like this and you can't make that happen, and then what are you relying on? Your most recent interaction with them? Well, that could be positive or negative. You're relying on the thoughts of a peer. Well, how much should that peer bring to bear on this teacher's evaluation. As far as the domains go, I think these domains and weightings of these domains are quite interesting. Let me go read through all these domains with their percentages. So instruction classroom performance receives 50% of the weighting for this score. Spiritual leadership receives 20%. Professional responsibilities receives 20%. And school culture participation receives 10%. Matt, respond to those weightings.
I know that, number one, we're paying teachers to be instructing. So it does make sense that you're going to put a lot of weight in how they're able to communicate instruction. Spiritual leadership, I mean, this has 20%. I mean, for us as Christian school leaders, obviously, I think we're going to look at that and say, that should probably be higher.
Yeah,
School culture
that was
at
my first thought
10%,
too.
kind of the same thing. When I look at how low these things are, now granted, I tend to get to a place where these are all 25%, and then it's just like, well, okay, it is what it is. And maybe that's strong. I don't know. But I would not want to say from a Christian school perspective that the spiritual leadership and the school culture are just a small thing. To me, that's probably almost bigger than instruction.
Yeah, I definitely support the movement of spiritual leadership into the 40, if not. Yeah, because at some point you have to lay out these rationales. Would I want? Am I going to have a secular instructor who is, relatively of zero spiritual leadership in my school? And if I'm okay with that, well, I would say my Christian school has some kind of structural issue. I was just speaking with an administrator today who was talking about the opportunity they've had to do some recruiting and the blessing they've had of seeing a lot of resumes come in, but they've come to understand that some of these resumes are coming from some people who, even though they know the answers, they're living unbiblically with a non-spouse member or something like that, and they're taking themselves out of the running, and it's difficult because they want to, they like these people otherwise, but these candidates are disqualifying themselves for their spiritual stances, and I'm not going to school. The Christian school of Zockoll is not going to have a value of instruction or classroom performance which is ever going to be just as meaningful as spiritual leadership. I guess that's the way I have to put it. So maybe if I want to back up and say what they're trying to evidence here is that the spiritual stance of these teachers has been evaluated prior and is not wanting. They are gospel-minded, Bible-believing teachers. So maybe the difference here is the spiritual leadership part, but even so it says here is one of the domain descriptions, chapel or discipleship leadership. But then the other two are Christ-like example of student care and biblical worldview integration, which again, if I have a teacher who is not biblically integrating the worldview, or whose worldview is not biblically integrated, and is not showing Christ-like care, but it is but quote unquote is a good quote unquote teacher. Besides that, I don't see that as being a good teacher. So,
Well, I think we could talk about this till the cows come home, as they say, but the cows may already be home. So,
oh man, we went for a long time on this.
We need to wrap this one up.
We even hit the other domains, man. There's more domains here. There's professional responsibility, school culture. Okay, we'll just stick on the percentages really fast. Answer this one more question for me. So they have instruction, classroom performance 50%, spiritual leadership at 20%. We've already said spiritual leadership cannot be 20%. It's got to be higher. Instruction, classroom performance, let's leave it at 50 or higher than 50 because we do expect that to be a big deal. How about professional responsibilities? I mean, let me ask, which one of these do you think should be the lowest? School participation, school culture participation, professional responsibilities, spiritual leadership, or instruction, classroom performance? Which of these, for the high achieving teacher in your school, which of these is the lowest domains?
I guess the one that has the greatest ability to be at the lowest would be the professional development, because hopefully they've got to a point where they're golden, not to be forgotten about. But I don't know. I keep coming back to where I tend to almost put these all on equal footing. It's not that one is drastically lower than the other. I only care about the professional development if I can see like there is clearly a need for that faculty development and professional development. So yeah, I guess I would lean towards that one if I had to make one lower than the rest, but I'm right there where I'm like, all these got to be hand in hand working together well to be a quality teacher.
I agree. I guess we're not going to be perfect, but it's a good place for us to start. I hope Mr. Blackman finds his answer. I hope he finds a tool that helps him out. I hope that his teachers do not feel the ramifications of a poor tool, nor do they feel the ramifications of no tool or no evaluation. Hopefully they have what they need there at Meadowbrook. Matt, moving on, who is our Christian administrator receiving the Christian Administrator Spotlight today?
Yeah, the spotlight is going to Mr. Matt Tracy of Community Baptist Christian School in South Bend, Indiana.
All right, Matt, I'm going to go ahead and pray for you today. We don't have a lot of time to describe you otherwise. I'm sorry about that, but I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you are toiling well on your way to a successful 26-27 school year. Father in heaven, I thank you for Matt. I thank you for what he is doing out there in Indiana. I thank you for his school, and the thought that this school year is coming up is pressing on us all. Lord, you have a will, and you have a way that Matt is to achieve that will. Make it known to him in your perfect way, your perfect time, so that this year he is able to pour into those around him in such a way that they are stronger, that the school is stronger, and that the mission of the school, which is going to include being a gospel light, being a place of biblical worldview development for you, is stronger overall. We love you. Amen.
Amen. Hey, I know we didn't say anything about Matt Tracy, but I do know he has to do that evaluation thing of a guy named Sean Alexander. So he's got his work cut out for him.
Well, hopefully Sean hears that too. All right, folks, thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader. One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.